Hello, Kiwi Farms. This is the notorious Tony, and I'm making a video to answer some questions and illuminate the situation and shine the truth on it. The phone calls and the videos really speak for themselves, and that's really the idea. But of course, people have all their own perceptions and opinions, and now you're going to get mine. So I'm not a Kiwi Farms user. I've never posted on the site, and I want to keep it that way. And not because it's not a great site, just that I don't want to get more involved than I already am. I think anyone following the Vinny, aka Jolly Cat Saga, knows that I deeply am. It is a comedy duo of sorts. But let me tell the story. Well, first let me introduce. I'll just go. I want to make this a short video, and there are really 4 topics, and that's who I am, who Vinny is, why I did what I did, and why I still do what I'm doing, and what I hope Kiwi Farms does. So, who I am. This is not about me, but just as it relates to Vinny. I am an entertainer. I am a trained actor, and I'm actually Vinny's friend. I've known him well over 10 years. And, well, I'm fascinated by Vinny. And he is an intriguing person. I'm very into psychology. And I'm extremely intrigued by Vinny, just from that standpoint. However, I'm also fascinated by him as an entertainer. Now, this may shock some people. I really think he is a good entertainer. He has huge potential as an entertainer. Of course, his talent is quite dubious, but the courage to get up and perform, 90%, or whatever the numbers, but most people don't have the courage to do that. Most people couldn't do what Vinny does. They may have some talent, but the courage to get up and then to keep going, that is a talent in itself, per se. That's a talent. And in that regard, he is a great performer. He also has some musical ability, however limited it may be, and untrained. But you also have to give him even more kudos when you consider that he does his act a cappella, which takes twice as much courage. I mean, that is courageous. In that regard, the guy is super courageous. But his talent and his act, those are 2 other arenas for sure. And I think everyone who sees him, most people, sees that Vinny's act is not what he thinks it is. And Vinny is not quite the entertainer that he thinks he is. So, is Vinny doing an act? Well, he is and he isn't. Actually, what Vinny does and what I do with Vinny blurs the line of fiction and reality. What's real, what's not. It gets enmeshed, and sometimes the players don't even know. Usually we do, but sometimes not. And it gets it's such a momentum starts occurring that you can't even separate them. It's like a train, not the Trump train. It's not the Jolly Cat train, because it's a combination. It is a partnership. Like one of the things that Vinny and I talked about is being like a modern day Abbott and Costello. And but the real thing, the real potential I saw with Vinny. Yeah, we could, we've talked about working together numerous times, and I saw how difficult that would be. Well, firstly, my own plate is full. He thinks that I'm trying to, uh, grab onto his coattails. I am so busy with my own stuff, but I'm so distracted by him. Quite frankly, I've become addicted to the guy, and because he's a fucking train wreck. Everything he does, especially when he's provoked, when he's agitated, uh, is just, it's hard to look away. I mean, he's just, he's, well, what's going on with Vinny? Well, Vinny is he believes that he's on a mission. And listen, any mission can be self-developed, and it should be, and they are. But he thinks his is divine, and that's fine. However, he thinks that it's guaranteed him. He thinks that since God gave him this vision, that it's guaranteed to happen for him. So, and that's quite a mistake. I've told him many times that he can do it if he earns it. He doesn't want to earn it. He thinks that what he does is fine. See, he suffers. I actually have a great spiritual background myself. And I tell him constantly that he suffers from the deadliest sin. Ever heard of the 7 deadliest sins? Well, the worst one is pride. He tries to pretend that he's humble, but he's the opposite of humble. That's his pretense. He's extremely prideful, and but I'm digressing a bit. The Vinny does suffer from paranoia. Okay, he's very insecure, and he's quite deluded. But those 3 things can be dealt with if one was open to dealing with them, which I'm not sure how much he is. I think very little. But that's not his worst problem. The worst problem that Vinny has, it's a problem that totally precludes any success from forthcoming, is that he is completely shut down to any feedback that does not praise him. He is so close-minded about his act that he gets deluded about it and highly defensive about it, and which makes him really entertaining. That's the most entertaining thing about him, is his reactions, which are quite often over the top. Yeah, his Jolly Cat thing is entertaining, but that's practically the least entertaining thing about him. It's Vinny is the entertaining thing, not the Jolly Cat. The reality show that him and I have talked about, and he wants to do the Jolly Cat. The Jolly Cat is basically nowhere. It's a wonderful tool or premise to use, but what's entertaining is Vinny and his frustrations with the world, his lack of success in his career, his love life, and his ability to have relationships and move and get along in the world. They are very compromised and conflicted. That's the thing. But Vinny doesn't see that, because sometimes Vinny admits his problems, but most times not. Or then he'll just give God the problem, which is just a way of him not dealing. That's just his defense mechanism. So he's who is Vinny? He is a wonderful train wreck. I love him, and really a nice guy when he's not a fucking asshole. Everyone is good and evil. See, but the problem that Vinny has is he likes to pretend that he's more good than evil. I love the guy, but he's a dick. He really is. He's so, he plays the victim. He's always victimizing himself. He's always misconstruing practically everything and fictionalizing all sorts of things so that he can always be the victim. Blame his success on all sorts of things. He's terrible at calculating the actual causes for things, and really it causes him lots of problems, and others lots of entertainment. So I would love to work with Vinny. But Vinny is practically, I knew that he was difficult to work with. I've known him for a long time. But he's really practically impossible to work with. How do you argue with a guy how do you work with a guy who argues with you at every turn, or worse? He sees a plot behind every person, almost behind every move. It's the paranoia is a real problem with him. Probably destroys every relationship that he has that's at least close. He pushes people away so that he can tolerate his paranoia. So why I did what I did, I saw that Vinny was extremely hard to work with, but that it was possible, and that I really didn't want to because of my own. I have lots of very important goals. Well, actually, just a few very important ones that I'm distracted from because of Vinny. Because it's hard to look away from Vinny. It really is, and it's not because of Jolly Cat. It's because of Vinny. He doesn't recognize his own intrinsic entertainment value. He thinks it's the Jolly Cat. It's not. It's Vinny. But I got drawn in. So what I started doing was, because either it would be part of a reality show, or it was just worth documenting, both reasons. I started recording phone calls, which is completely legal in New York State, one-party consent, and recording whatever I could, documenting it, because I saw more and more that getting agreement from him, or a partnership that was constructive and effective would be, I would say, more trouble than it's worth. And then things kind of, I wouldn't say derailed. It was kind of like the natural direction for it. Vinny is constantly catastrophizing, and everything's the worst, and he's always the victim, and but I saw that I didn't want to take my time and effort to work with him, but he's been such a dick lately. I mean, a real dick. I mean, he says that Kiwi Farms slanders him. I did an awful thing with Vinny. You know what I did? I told the truth to Vinny. To Vinny, that's an awful thing. He does not accept the truth. Vinny does not like the truth. Vinny grabs his delusions and doesn't let go. He has little tiny pinpricks of truth that he covers up soon enough. And so, what I did was, one of his fans contacted me, and this is it's not the first time, recently, and I released some phone calls to that fan, and so lo and behold, those phone calls were posted on Kiwi. Well, I didn't post them. And I don't even know if that person was the one who posted them, but someone did. It wasn't me. I shared it with someone who was interested in the train wreck that is Vinny, and I don't say that in a negative way. And see, that's the Vinny Pirelli phenomenon. He makes everything negative. He makes me into this terrible monster. I haven't harmed the guy in any way. I never intended to harm the guy in any way. There's never been any harm. But to Vinny, I'm a murderer. I'm a rapist. That's Vinny, and that's entertaining. So the person I shared the calls with, if he decides to post the phone calls, to enter, because they're so entertaining, well, that's his decision. I did not post them. And it's not that I wouldn't, but like I said, I don't want to get involved with all this. I got my own stuff. Vinny thinks that one of Vinny's issues is jealousy. He's actually, and it's not. I don't say this to be egotistical, but he's actually very jealous of me. And it's not because of me. It's because he is a very jealous person. I'm not going to get into it now, but there have been women that Vinny has made love triangles with, and some I didn't even know about. Down the road maybe I'll share. But I want to share what I have about Vinny, because it needs to be shared. It's so entertaining. Vinny is such a wonderful, entertaining person. And I said it, he's a wonderful train wreck. That's not a negative thing. That's just the description. And look, and here's an example. Vinny is right now, he's spinning, he's off the rail, he's off the hook, he's blown the gaskets about Kiwi Farms and about the phone calls. Vinny is an uber extrovert that's desperately trying to be famous. But all he has is on his own Facebook page a small, very tiny number of people who he calls fans, which like the Jolly Cat. And I'm sure even most of those are bored because it's so repetitive. There's hardly anything new. His act. Let's be frank about it. Most people think his act is idiotic. It's like songs that a 5-year-old wrote. With someone who doesn't move very well, dancing, jumping around like an idiot. But he has some, it's deliberate, but, and part of what I wanted for him in the reality show is to just basically document his reality, which is issues abound. His conflict with everything, which is of course dramatic and entertaining, and it's not and because it's different and extreme, it's often seriously, hilariously funny, off the hooked. By the way, I was just watching a fan made the best thing I've ever seen Vinny in, which was a fan made it. The best acting I've ever seen him do. The phone call, which has some kind of prank phone call or threatening phone calls to Vinny, and Vinny develops a knife. Best thing that he ever did, because he wasn't acting. You see, Vinny thinks he's a great actor. Has anybody ever seen Vinny act a line that, say a single line of dialogue that he himself didn't write? He thinks he has this great career. Has he ever even been paid? When you talk to Vinny about career, he'll talk about some past that he thinks he has, or some future that he thinks he has. He doesn't talk about now or what's real. Doesn't even have a resume. And believe me, this whole video is completely sincere. It's not a single word of not even exaggeration. I have tried to help him sincerely. He is a guy who bites the hand that feeds. The more I try to help him, the more he spits in my face. And that's really why we've gotten to this point. Yes, I provoke him. I do, because that's what gets the reaction. I'm an actor. If your reaction is not, the more intense your reaction, the more entertained you are, the more you'll remember it. That's just the way us humans are. A lot of people don't realize that. They get bent out of shape by the stronger emotions, but that's the stuff that's the crux of your life. All the stuff that's just mundane and tedious, or the reactions are small, those are all forgettable, and you will forget them. And that's why Vinny is so entertaining, because he's so over the top. You think if he was just a low anger, it'd be entertaining? It'd be just a low entertaining, but he gets very angry. That's why he's very entertaining. But I saw that he was too difficult to work with, and you know what? It's just too time consuming. I'm too busy with my own stuff. He's a distraction, and I love him, and I want to help him, but it's impossible, practically impossible. And you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped, and you can't work with someone who doesn't know how to cooperate. So what? And since he's been such a dick lately, and I say that without malice and without ill will, He's just a dick. He talks about, he said Kiwi slanders him. Kiwi's never slandered him. Some people were a little over the top in their opinions, in their description, a little mean, but Kiwi's never slandered him. Vinny doesn't know what slander means. He thinks the truth is slanderous to Vinny. But if anything, Vinny has slandered me. Vinny has said that I've done things I haven't done. He said I'm a person that I am not. He attributes all sorts of motivations and qualities to me that are completely false. I could sue him for slander. But of course, I won't, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This whole thing, which Vinny catastrophizes, is entertaining. It's entertaining. So what I've done is I made a reality show without his permission. But since I'm too busy and I don't want to I don't want to do it, I'm just sharing what I have because it's so worth it. It's so entertaining. And if Vinny can get two brain cells to work together, he'll capitalize on it and springboard from it. And because he's actually getting the attention that, even though he's negative about it, because that's his nature, that's his place where he lives, he's getting the attention that he loves. He loves attention. And I'm not doubting that. I love attention. Yeah, everyone needs attention, especially, and no one more than entertainers. But see, what he does on his page is that he's so, because of the issues I've already described, he invariably deletes anything that's not praise on his page, which is so much. He blocks people who make these things. So he makes this bubble for himself more and more. Well, Kiwi Farms is not a bubble. He's completely impotent. That's why he talks all this shit, but he hasn't done anything, because there is nothing to do. This is the reality. And Vinny, you got potential. But the Jolly Cat is nowhere. It's like I told him before. Jolly Cat is dead. And I say that just to provoke him. Because I think the Jolly Cat can be used. Well, getting back to what I think the reality show should have been, it's Vinny's life as he pursues his thing. He's a street performer. He's a successful street performer. And most people think a terrible one. And in some ways I agree with that. In other ways I don't. I don't think his act is well. I'm going to say, I'll get to my next point. Vinny will come to a point where he accepts that where he has a future is as a children's entertainer. He can take his Jolly Cat, act and sell it and be a children's show host, and then have other people help him write and make the decisions. Because, as I told him countless times, you're good for the performing, you're great for the performing, Vinny, but for the decisions, you suck. He does not have a brain for decisions. He has a brain for self-sabotage, to use that term. He is terrible at making all sorts of decisions, whether they be career, relationship, life, whatever. I mean, he needs a life coach desperately. He needs a manager desperately. I've told him many times that's what Vinny needs, is a manager. But I've said this to him many times. He's gotten one or two, but he's always, fired them because the issues I've already said. But so what I did was I made a reality show without his permission, which is what he wants. But since Vinny is a fucking crackpot, he's going nuts about it because it's a cutting edge thing to do a reality show without someone's permission. But Vinny's too screwed up to make his own reality show. So he just does what he knows to do, which is to go out and do his Jolly Cat in the street and then get mad when he doesn't get the response that he wants, and get the same thing with his live streams on Facebook, which is just more spinning of his wheels. So what and that's I guess that covers it, and that's enough out of me. But what I will end with this, and what I hope Kiwi does is can do exactly what Kiwi Farms has always done, which is a great thing, which is to highlight people like this, spotlight them, because they do deserve a forum and a stage, because they're entertaining. That's why the site's there. Vinny is entertaining, and hopefully Vinny will continue to be Vinny, but I do hope that he can reach some understandings that will improve both his life and his career, and recognize, and I'm sure he does, I'm sure he goes back and forth with it, has ambivalence about it, that I'm actually his friend. And his best friend, perhaps, but I've said to him many times, the reason, Vinny has blocked me at least 30 times on Facebook. That means he's unblocked me that many times too, right? Obviously. No one, because even he realizes that I am his best link to both success and sanity. But I really, I want to distance myself from Vinny because he's so distracting to me. I mean, I've become addicted to him, man, and I don't want that, man. Because he's just, it's fascinating, and I love the guy. He's a great guy when he's not a dick. But be gentle with him, Kiwi. Remember that despite his, being a jerk off, he's a nice guy, and he just has issues that he's trying to resolve, even if it's at a snail's pace. I'm not saying you should give him a break, but if you beat him up with a feather. All right? The Notorious Tony out.